Welcome, everybody, to the December Speaker Circle Community Call. I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to be here. And I know that I got a few emails from people, life is lifing and holidays are holidaying, and they weren't able to make this call. But they'll be able to listen to this. This recording is going to be on the podcast, Be in Demand. Next week, I'm going to be doing a special series answering questions from the audience. So if you have a question specific for speaking, maybe it's specific to your business, or how can you get started? Where can you find the right audiences? Would speaking work for you and your business model? You can go to speakpipe.com, speakpipe.com/BID. And up will pop this lovely little microphone and you can just hit record. Actually, Adam recorded a testimonial for me with his favorite episode, I believe it was. He did one of these just a few weeks ago. So you'll be hearing his testimonial on the beginning of one of my episodes. But if you go to speakpipe.com/BID and you have a question, you just might hear your question answered next week between the holidays from Monday till I think next Saturday is when I'm going to do this. But if I have some extra questions, I'll be doubling up to get them all answered. So today, as we are wrapping up 2024, I just thought it would be a lot of fun for you all to pick out a piece of paper and start writing down, where did you speak? Because we're going to kind of like piggyback off of what we did a couple of months ago, where we were talking about reputations and building relationships with people. So as I was creating my list, and I'm seeing a trend, and it's definitely, this trend coincides with what my intentions were this year. So as you start writing down, like, where did you speak? Virtually, podcasts, in person, conferences, breakout sessions. Maybe you hosted your own workshops or conferences, or you hosted some sort of like your own type of event for your clients and customers. Start writing those things down. And if you could make them into little lists, that's even better. I just kind of made one big list, all the different places. And here's one of the trends that I noticed. I spoke on more podcasts than I did speak virtually or even in person. Earlier, I said that, this really coincided with how I approached, this particular year with speaking. I had decided that I wanted my podcast to become the center of my content universe. And it's still evolving. And I really think that what does that mean? My content universe, I think it's still evolving and it will evolve into 2025. However, I did speak on more podcasts. So I realized okay, so I did accomplish that, because in order for my podcast to become the center of my content universe, I still had to get out there and tell people about my podcast. So me being a guest on other people's podcasts, it's a great call to action to say, go listen to my podcast. And I created a new listener's guide. And for any of you who don't have that, you might want to snag that. That's at speakandstandout.com/guide. You're already on my email list, so you'll end up just getting the guide. But it really breaks down and shares with my new audience members, or yourselves, some of my most popular downloaded episodes. And also, what are some of the other resources and other ways that you can be involved in the podcast as well? So another thing that I did this year was also, as soon as I hit episode 200, I went to twice a week. And I was able to do that with ease because my second episode is a way for my audience to be a part of the show. Hence, like these speaker circles, community calls, but also the speaker breakthrough sessions that I do. That's a live coaching. And these aren't my clients that I'm coaching. And any of you can sign up for one of those if you feel called to, like, hey, I'd really love to have some one-on-one coaching with Laurie-Ann, knowing that it is going to go on the podcast. So you also get to do a shout out for your business. And we speak specifically on a burning question that you have. So it's very particular to you. And I don't give you some cookie cutter advice. It's always very specific to your unique situation. When moving forward, talking about building relationships, now that I created this list, what I'm going to do with this list is to personally reach out to the person who invited me to speak to their community or to speak on their podcast and just thank them. It's kind of that time of the year where people are sending out Christmas cards. So if I have somebody's address, I will actually, mail them a card if that's possible. But if it's not possible, I have everybody's email address. So I will send them an email that just says, thank you for being a part of my year. I really enjoyed being a part of your podcast, a part of your community. Again, we're just building that relationship. It's a nice way especially with meeting planners or with anybody who brought you into their world to speak to their audience. I remember speaking to your group, even though it was way back in March, towards the beginning of the year, and they may have completely forgotten about it as well. And so it's such a lovely reminder. And one of the things I keep harping on is that this business is a relationship business. I want other people talking about me. People that come onto my podcast as guests, I let them know at the end of our recording, and I just finished a podcast recording with one woman, and this is exactly what I said to her. I said, go to Listen Notes and type in my name. And what's going to come up is a list of all the different podcasts that I've been on. If there's a show that you would like to be on, that you feel that you'd be a great fit for and you'd like to get in front of that audience, let me know, because I will make that personal introduction with that podcast host. It's just like one of those little extra benefits. And I usually get the thank you so much. And I would love to do the same for you. Or they'll tell me hey, here's what I'm doing. And I will share this list with you. My last podcast guest is getting on more podcasts in 2025 is one of her big goals. She's already set that and she's making a list. So that's what I really wanted to share with you today, that not only do you get to see all the different places that you spoke, and here was your accomplishments. Here's what you did do. And I would have to go back actually through my calendar, and I probably can pick out all the different speaking opportunities because I usually tag them. And I'm sure that there's a few more that can be added to this list. But then just taking it a step further and really acknowledging for yourself for what you did. And then let's deepen the relationships with those people and just say, thank you. Thank you for bringing me in. Thank you for being a part of my year. And if there's anything else that I can do for you into the next year, please let me know. The places that I spoke virtually, I will let them know, or if I have not already, speakers know speakers. I know a lot of speakers, so let me know what topics you're looking for speakers on. I am always happy to be a resource for people to make that connection for them. So I hope that this has been a little inspiring, but also it's different. Not everybody's doing this. They're sending the general, hey, happy holidays, everyone, and happy, New Year, and may all your resolutions come true and this time next year and blah, 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 because that's basically what's going on. So let's do something different and send these personalized emails to people that just says, thanks. And how can I be of service to you next year? Let's start planting those seeds with people now. So that's what I wanted to share with you. It's sort of a short, sweet exercise, but I would be super curious how many were on your list. Granted, you didn't have any time to prepare for this. I've seen some heads down, as you guys were probably making your list while you were listening to me. But how many did you have? Feel free to unmute yourself. And, like the bonus question is, did you notice a trend? And that trend could be, oh yeah, I was like very like heavy with speaking events or podcasts, like in the beginning of the year. And then summer came and I kind of fell off the podcast guesting wagon. What sort of trends did you notice with your list? Feel free just to unmute yourself and let's hear them. Let's hear your wins.
Hi, I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. Hi, Laurie. Thank you for doing
Hey, Renee.
Hi. So interestingly for me, I'm moving from personal coaching into more speaking. So this year didn't have a lot of opportunities for me. But when I started making a list, thank you for that, Laurie. It's more than I thought. I am the vice president of membership at my local Toastmasters group. So of course I speak a lot there. And I was invited to speak to a group of students at one of the local high schools, young leaders. I did 3 master classes of my own through Eventbrite in 2024. I did was invited to speak on 2 virtual summits. I did a few Facebook lives. I'm always doing videos, but I wanted to do more lives this year. I did a couple of Instagram lives and I was invited on a couple of podcasts.
Very nice.
And a partridge in a pear tree. And there's
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. And, everybody else, I don't know about you, but while I was listening to Renee's list, I was like, oh yeah, I spoke at that university. Oh yeah, I spoke on that summit. Like that's really kind of the whole point of also sharing your wins because
it's great. And thank you for that reminder. Actually.
Yeah. Great. Does anybody else want to share some of their wins or any trends that they noticed, they recognized? Lawrence.
So I spoke in 3 different places. There's a networking mastermind group that I'm part of that we rotate the speakers around. Everybody takes a turn. So I spoke there 2 or 3 times this year. I taught a class at my synagogue on Yom Kippur for about 45 minutes to an hour. I do it every year. And one of the networking groups I'm involved with did a series of quickie lightning interviews with the members. So she did that. It's taped. It's going to come out in 2025 because I was waiting to get my new headshots done before we did the pictures. So we did the headshots a couple weeks ago, whole branding shoot. And so I gave them the pictures last week. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, nice. Now that we're talking and I'm listening to you speak about the different places that you spoke, there's a place that I got asked to come back to speak this past year. And they're actually based in Toronto. And I'm going to recommend that you speak there next year.
Well, if you're going to be at Toronto, we got to go out for coffee or dinner or something.
Yes. I actually, unfortunately, I did speak virtually for the conference. The conference is both in person and virtually.
Well, if you come to Toronto, dinner's on me.
I will. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? And if you have a question, feel free to share your question also. Adam, did I see you unmute and then mute?
I did because I saw Diana's hand go up and I didn't want to jump the queue.
Well, since you're unmuted.
All right, then.
Go for it.
So this year was really the year that the penny dropped that the story coaching that we do in larger agency engagements could be a standalone thing. And I've done it at conferences and whatever. And finally it was like the dim light bulb flickered on and realized, oh yeah, we should just lead with this. And so as you said, as people were talking, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. And I had about a half a dozen here, scattered between corporations, nonprofits, some educational institutions, have just started putting together lists of podcasts and thinking about how to do a cold approach here. But I think the biggest win of the year was I just heard back from a training where I flew out, did the training, did an afternoon workshop in San Francisco, and just got an email yesterday that the CEO was overheard saying, oh, I got to get better at telling my story. My whole thing is around how to tell a story that has business effects. And so as a result of that, she was like, oh yeah, I got to get better at using my story. So at least to hear that it made an impact was, that felt like a win.
That is nice. And I'm also going to put my offer out for you as well, because I think that you would speak very well to some of the audiences that I have spoke for. So again, if you go to Listen Notes and you see a podcast or two that you're like, I really want to be on these, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Connections is one of my highest values, and I love to make connections for other people as well. So very nice
You-
list.
Have you done Clifton Strengths? Are you familiar with that paradigm?
I have, and if you're going to ask me what the results are, I don't know.
But just kind of being a connector is one of the top strengths, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of yours. Jim Clifton was the founder of the Gallup organization, and starting in like the 60s, he was evaluating thousands of companies' performance, trying to figure out, well, why does some thrive and some don't? When, on average, the bigger you are, the more average your people will be, because you need a lot of people, right? Just mathematically, that's how it works. And figured out that there are something like 36 kind of basic strengths, and something like 98% of the time you use your top 5. This is just your default approach to things.
Yeah.
And for certain situations, they're a huge strength. In other situations, they can be a massive liability. And knowing what your strengths are and what your colleagues and friends and other folks' strengths are helps you know when you should step into the spotlight and when you should grab that spotlight and shine it on someone else, because this is the moment where they're perfect for this.
Oh, I like that. We should start like a little strength finder club.
Absolutely.
All these different people.
I'll send a link around. I'll pop it in the chat later as we go. You can do an online assessment. Basically, I ask you a bunch of questions, and it's checking not just your answer, but how quickly you get there. Like, how many seconds did it take you to get to like big idea versus bring everyone together, right? Those are very different kinds of defaults. So I don't want a bunch of airtime though.
That's interesting. But I wanted to just hearing you talk about like what you saw in your list. When I said also that I also saw like a trend, and one of those trends was my husband travels a lot to some really interesting places. And I had to say no to Milan this year because I was busy. And I also knew it was also going to be a quick trip. And I was like, oh, you'll go back again. And so going into 2025, I also want to make sure that I don't have to say no to stuff like that. So again, my podcast is evolving as the center of my content universe, and podcast guesting fits really well with being able to travel, with husband. Okay. Who else? Diana, you had raised your hand. Please. Where are you?
Hi, yes. So in my list, I noticed that I did a lot of small group talks throughout the year, and they varied from parent groups, parent fitness groups. There were some military family groups. And then what was the other one? A high school. I went to speak to a high school. I did a couple of podcasts as well. And I'm hoping to do more of that into 2025, because I feel like that human touch, that in person, it's just irreplaceable. So Zoom is wonderful, of course, but that in-person interaction, I think that's where I noticed the most recently.
Yes. I just attended a number of in-person conferences this fall and just came back from my last one. You can probably hear the raspiness in my voice. And, as I feel like I probably stretched myself a little too much this fall. I had a lot going on. I love being an audience member in-person events so that I can just I get to observe and see like some of the new trends, what's going on, the different types of speakers, how long they're letting speakers speak for. So I'm also being very careful about how many events I sign up for next year also. But in-person events, it's such a great way for you to, again, let's get to know the meeting planners who put on the conference and starting to build those relationships with those people as well. So congratulations, Diana. That you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And I'll go. Sure, I'll go next.
Bonnie.
I was speaking. Hi. So Bonnie Dudley, communication and conflict coach. I was doing most of my speaking at local networking events and local organizations, such as the Chamber of Commerce, my BNI chapter, and then through Business and Professional Women, of which I'm a member as well. So most of my speaking was centered in person at those events. But then I also host my own meetups and had some great interactions through the online meetup I have through that platform. So looking forward to using what I learned this year and then applying it to next year when I'm going to be doing more promotion of my courses. So
Congratulations. Good for
thank you.
you. I'm good for you.
Thank you.
I'm very excited about where you've been this year and where you are going
Mm.
next year.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Because I got another question for y'all to answer. So I'll just
Speaking of questions, I don't know if you saw in the chat that Renee has a question.
So this is a great question, Renee. And so I'm just going to read this out loud. So we appreciate your advice to contact associations that you contacted, over 30 of them, and you heard back from none. Yes, big sigh. Is there a different way to identify the right person to connect with? One of the things when you're on their website, I go in and I look for the board of directors, the leadership team. And so I'm looking for somebody who's in charge of, it says programs, education, conference committee, all these different little pieces of names. And, like use your gut, trust yourself, and click on the name. Now, if you notice, it's a Gmail, a Yahoo email address. If it says this person's name at, like Gmail, just understand it's probably a volunteer. That's one thing. It could be a generic. It could be like program committee at Gmail, Again, it could be very generic, and this is a volunteer. When you start to get the person's name at the name of the association, this is a paid position. So it depends on if you are reaching out to an employee versus a volunteer. Just understand that it may take multiple times for you to reach out to them. But if you could get some sort of a warm introduction. So you already listed off a bunch of places that you did speak. Always start with your warm market. What associations did you speak with that you could, ask them, like, who else can I be speaking to? If you go into LinkedIn and you find this person who is in charge of this position for this association, who do you know in common? Because maybe your best friend actually knows this person. They worked together once upon a time. Like start using other resources and instead of just trying to do this all by ourselves, but try the warm market. And sometimes when you can't figure out who to send the email to, you send it to the president. But I will also add one other note. Be very careful on the length of your email. You are just gathering information, okay? Just gathering information. I think I recently did a podcast episode where I was talking about like my open the door policy. You're not saying, hey, here's all the wonderful things and this is why you should hire me. Because if you put yourself in the shoes of your meeting planner, they're just going to be like, I get these all day long. So let's get you to stand out and be different and make it short, sweet, and use my open the door policy. I would definitely say like, go listen to that particular podcast episode because that will help you come up with your lines that you're going to email out to people because it should be a very short email. You're just looking for information because they may only book people from within their organization, within their association. They may not even bring in outside speakers, but you don't know that until we start gathering information. So I hope that helps.
Thank you. I didn't quite understand the first thing you were saying, meaning use your warm market, meaning like use the people that I've already spoken for. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Definitely. And
so like even in Toastmasters, like putting it out there to them is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because they know what I do. Okay.
Yeah. Start having some conversations with the people that are in your Toastmasters, the people that are in the right position. Because I don't know how big your Toastmasters club is. Yeah. I mean, it could be like 40 or 50, and you probably know some of these people are here because they're trying to build up their business brand. and they actually are trying to become better speakers. So think about it that way. So look at your warm market. Who do they know? And who can they introduce you to?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Because the other question for you is, how much do you want to speak next year? If you set that goal now, I'd love for you to set that intention and put that somewhere. Make a little list. If it's 12, if it's 24, if it's 36, make the list. Put it somewhere where you can see it often. And how are you going to go about that? Like, what does speaking X amount of times mean for you? How many of it's going to be in person, virtual, podcasts, right? Having your own webinars or workshops. There's so many different forms of speaking, and I just feel like stages needs to be redefined. So deciding on, what kind of a stage are you going to be speaking on? What does that look like for you? So that this time next year, when we're making this list again, and you can be like, I was very intentional about XYZ, and I can see it. I can see the trend that I actually did it. Because remember, the world needs you. There are people out there waiting to hear your story, your advice, and your solutions. Ray, you have a question?
More kind of a comment. It's January, I start my contacting. I know there's people waiting for me already. So, but I'm also going to try. I don't know how I'm going to do, but I also know there are services that will call people for you, and they're a lot better sometimes if they get the idea of what you're doing, that they can set an appointment up for you. If you're getting paid, if you have enough in there that's going to pay them for that particular service. So you can tell them, all right, I need 10 a month, I need 10 for next month, and they'll go out and do it. You have to be getting paid for that service. So, and paying them. And sometimes a lot of us are not, savvy to that. We know what we want to do. You got to have the emotion that for what you want to do. But sometimes you're just not turning that little click that's getting people, into your realm of, setting up an appointment. So they're coming to speak, and you got to have some maybe a photo or a couple of videos of what you do.
Yeah.
So you gotta be out there. You gotta kick the can. Be out there and
true. And
try.
I would also say that while you are just getting started, the best person to sell you is yourself. A speaker bureau is going to take a fee, is going to take a certain percentage of your fee. And unless you have spoken, so a friend of mine, was trying to get into a speaker bureau so that they would promote her. And she just kept building this relationship with this one particular salesperson at the speaker bureau. And she finally just said, what's it gonna take for you to represent me? And she said, you need to speak 100 times. She at least told her, and in order to speak 100 times, you got to sell yourself to 100 different associations or events or conference organizers to get you to speak. But keep in mind, start with your warm market, start honing your craft, get out there and share your message. But the best person to sell you is you. Thanks, Ray. Anybody else have any questions? Because otherwise we will go into introductions. Okay. We're going to do some introductions. So will you want to...
I have a very quick question, Laurie.
Go ahead, Renee.
You feel it's a waste of time, since it's a week before the holidays, to try to do that second round of follow-up? Or do you feel that could actually help, maybe not cement, maybe if they need somebody, or if they realize, I didn't respond to this person, or is it best to wait?
Okay, so here's what I think about this time of the year, is that a lot of speakers love to put the brakes on and they just say, you know what? Everybody's taking the rest of the year off. But guess what? Meeting planners are actually still working. They're working on their spring, summer, and even fall events. It depends on how big the event is and how much time it actually takes to start planning it. So it's a great time to be reaching out to people. I spoke for a real estate company a few years ago, and when most realtors are taking the holiday season off, he was brand new and now he manages an office. He said he sold 3 houses in the month of December because people are still moving because they get promoted, they get transferred, things happen. So just because the rest of the world is in holiday mode doesn't mean that there aren't some gigs that need to be booked. So because it's also such a beautiful, fun time of the year, I would say come up with something really cute and holiday-ish to say to these people. I mean, you ended your list with "and a partridge in a pear tree." So I know you have a sense of humor. Okay. So find something cute and funny that just kind of makes them laugh.
Okay.
But gets you back in front of them.
Good idea. Thank you.
So think of rhyming. Something that's almost, I don't want to say poetry, but something that's rhyming. So come up with some sort of an email and then go over to ChatGPT or Claude or whoever you love to use and just say, here's an email that I want to make it rhyme. And I want to make it fun because I want the person reading it to laugh. And see
That's a brilliant idea.
And just see what it gives you. And then just have fun with it. And don't take it too seriously. If you don't hear from anybody, just be like, no big deal. They're going to hear from me again, and then again, and then again. But you could also consider picking up the phone. Oh, yeah, there's that too. Yeah. Love the telephone.
I don't know how to find the meeting planners, so I know I have a lot of work to do. Yep.
Yeah. So, Renee, would you start us off with our introductions? And keep in mind, we want to keep them short and sweet. So I want to know your name because there's people who are listening to this, what you speak on, and where people can find you. Keep it
so
short,
nice.
sweet, and to the point, folks. Thank you.
Just like me, I'm 5'2" with heels. So here we go. Hi, I'm Renee Cooper. I'm in Fort Lauderdale area. I've been a transformative communications coach for almost 2 years full-time and 4 years part-time. I speak on, great question. Originally, I thought I was speaking on how to connect more and present less. That's my talk title. But what I really speak on really is emotions and language, the power of emotions in language. And people can find me at stepintoyourvoice.com. Thank you, Laurie, for doing these every month.
Thank you very much, Renee. Diana, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Davidson. I'm based in San Diego, California. And I support parents on one side of the spectrum. I work with infants and toddlers, supporting families in early childhood music and movement classes. So those are in-person classes. And when I'm with that audience, I speak on the power of music and how important it is to connect with your little one. And on the other side of the spectrum, this is something new. I'm a parent coach as well, and I support families who have just sent or are about to send their children off to college with the emotional ups and downs of that parenting phase, not too different from the toddler phase. I call it the toddler teen phase, so that they can spend that part of their parenting phase with some calm, reassurance, and joy because children still need us.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Adam.
Hi, everyone. Adam Olin. I'm the founder of Russell & Sparker Branding and Marketing Agency in the beautiful ocean state of Rhode Island. And I speak about the power of storytelling to move measurable business objectives. What's the story? Why does it work? And how do you do it?
Nice. And very short, sweet, to the point. Thank you very much. Ray, you're next.
Okay, come on. Hi, my name is Ray Kummel. I'm written a book, What Bad We Do, Don't Ever Cross the Line. Problem number 6 is probably the worst problem that we have in our country right now, watching pornography. I talk to kids and adults how to get where the push button is that they should be watching. Okay. And I tell them that nobody else talks about is, you know, that the thousands of kids that are in the videos, you're the responsibility that why they're there. You need to stop. Just by thinking about them, you need to stop it right there. I can be reached at my website, oursoulsdirection.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lawrence.
Hey, everybody. I'm Lawrence Fox, and I am the bow tie wearing, fountain pen wielding online CPA, and I'm in the sunniest basement in Thornhill, Ontario, Canada. And I work with coaches, consultants, and creatives who'd rather have root canal than do their books. And the things I love to talk about is the 5 things that make me go ARG, accounting edition, and how to know when it's time to add a bookkeeper to your team.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. And Bonnie.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Dudley. I am based in New Hampshire, but I serve my clients throughout the United States. I'm a communication and conflict coach. I own Brooks Coaching. You can find me at brookscoaching.us. I work primarily with small business owners and talking about positive communication strategies so that they can influence in a positive manner clients, employees, and then also within their family dynamics. So it's because small business owners, we know that there's no difference between it's that work-life rhythm can be interesting. So that's what I love to talk about, being a positive influence through communication.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for attending this month's, the final one of the year. I started doing this, I think, in May, and I've done it every single month since and have really enjoyed it. So I've got a great lineup of topics that is coming next year. So if you're listening to this and you would like to join us for a future speaker circle, you can join us by signing up at speakandstandout.com/community. And you will all be getting an email regarding signing up for next month's and also thanking you for being here. So I will talk to you all soon. Thank you very much for joining, and happy holidays, everybody. Are you tired of hearing crickets on social media? Wondering where to get seen by the right people? Or frustrated with the growth of your business? Then the Speaker Breakthrough Session is just for you. During this free 20-minute discovery call, I'll help you recognize where you're leaving money and opportunity on the table. You'll walk away with tips and a strategy to leverage speaking opportunities to get positioned as the expert, visible to the right people, and monetize your expertise. Book your call at speakandstandout.com/SBS for Speaker Breakthrough Session.